Everybody, how's it going? It's Joe, and welcome back to the Inside Our Phillies podcast. We're here today with a very special weekend episode. We have Jeremy, SJ Phil's fan. We also have Jack Fritz. How's it going, Jack?
Uh,
And how's it going, Jeremy?
It's going well, I think.
Phillies are coming off of a pretty big win. Good series so far in Philadelphia against the Braves. Obviously, Schwarber had that giant game where I really thought he was going to get that fifth home run against the position player, but it didn't end up happening. So let's get right into that. Jack, did you think that he was going to hit that fifth home run? I thought that was going to be like the lock of a century when he came up to bat against the position player.
yeah, so I 100% thought he was going to do it, and I thought the post-game quotes were hilarious. It was like, I'm bad against position players, and when everyone went silent, I think you felt a little bit extra pressure. There was a part of me that was like, I don't know, fifth home run off a position player. I understand in baseball history it would have never happened, but in like as I now a father of two, developing into a boomer sports fan, I think I was like, I don't know about the fifth one being off a position player and how super special it was, but the four was pretty ridiculous.
It was. I thought that Kepler should not have scored on that single before Schwarber came up, because if he didn't score, the bases would have been loaded, and he would have had an opportunity for the home run cycle as well as the fifth home run of the game. I don't know.
Yeah, but I agree. I think a fifth off a pair, it would have been like fun in the moment. But looking back, no one would care it was position player like 20 years from now. But I would care. It just wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, it's kind of how I was. I was like, yeah, I mean, it's going to go down the record books as the only player in baseball history to hit 5 home runs in a game. I think 10 to 15 years, 20 years, when we're looking back on it, no one would have remembered as opposite position players. So, it would have been nice to have a couple of that in the Mets series, but at least that they've bounced back in a pretty decent way against the Braves.
Yeah, I mean, people were melting down, right? And now all of a sudden, I think people are feeling a lot better. I think things are never as good as they are when you're at your best, never as bad as they are when you're at your worst. But overall, I think you got to feel like pretty good about the team. I think that the main thing that everybody's wondering is, like, after the Wheeler injury, there were so many questions about how the rotation would look in the playoffs, because you could say there were questions about, most of the guys in the rotation, with Aaron Nola coming back, Ranger kind of breaking down at the time, Luzardo being shaky. So Jack, how has the last week and a half changed your opinion on the rotation going into the playoffs, if it's changed at all?
Yeah, it hasn't really changed much. I still am buying what Ranger is selling, which is good. And I mentioned this on High Hopes, but I think it's so funny that Ranger basically was like, all right, I'll just be good now that Wheeler's hurt. Team needs me. I'll step up. So I appreciate the calmness of Ranger. And he's pitching pretty well. So that's really, really important. I think Nola looks mostly fine. I was glad they didn't really have to push him the other night. They can kind of ease him back into it. Overall, I mean, Sanchez, not worried about him. I think he's fine. And Luzardo is showing me some things. I think he's not where he was at the beginning of the season, which he was ridiculous for his first 10 starts. And it was truly like, wow, we got an ace level pitcher for Starlin Cava. He obviously went through a down period, but I think he's getting back to close to what he was at the beginning of the season. And I've been pretty impressed by his competitiveness. I thought he was really into that Mets start. Unfortunately, hit the guy and it kind of, they got him out of there. But for the most part, I think that he is getting back to close to what he was at the beginning of the year, which is a really big development. I still don't know who my game 2 starter is. I think if you asked me today, I would say Ranger, just based off of the history. But with a month left, a lot of things can change. And really, like, at this point, Nola still, I would probably say no. But with a month left, I mean, you could pretty much say every one of those guys could be a game 2 starter.
Yeah, there's so much left to happen, and we'll see what happens. What about you, Jeremy? Where are you at on the rotation?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. Like Sanchez, the Mets, whatever. That was like one bad start in random times. But Luzardo was looking pretty good, except until he fell apart again in the fifth. But I think Thomas should take him out earlier. As soon as he hit the guy, I knew it was going to be a problem. And the umpire didn't help anything. I mean, he pissed off Luzardo or any pissed off Ranger like the week before. But that Nola, at least yesterday, he was hitting 94 on some pitches. So that gave me, I don't know if that was just adrenaline or something, but that was nice to see the velocity.
The stuff is there. Like, that wasn't a stuff problem. It was just like a command problem he was running into.
Yeah, but of course, like I've been saying this, and I'm getting I don't know what's the vindicated, whatever. Taiwan Walker's returning to Taiwan Walker right in front of our eyes, so I don't want him nowhere near the rotation in the playoffs.
No, he's a good 5-starter though, right? He's like really recovered no matter what, and he's like a 5-starter now that is valuable and can eat some innings for you. But I thought you brought up a really good point there with how these starters seem to like be constantly left in for like an inning too long. I don't know if anybody else has like noticed that or gotten frustrated at it, but like it's been happening all year, especially since the trade deadline, where this bullpen is like more of a strength than they were before, especially now with Alvarado back in the fold too. Like, what do you guys think about Thompson just leaving these starters in, like, third, fourth time through the lineup, and feels like every game it comes back to bite them and they get at least one extra run against them?
Well, see, I don't have a problem with him like going an extra inning, but there's to me like this could just be like confirmation bias, but it's obvious to me when things are falling apart. When Sanchez got blown up, he didn't do well like the inning before. His stuff was falling apart. So I would have had guys getting warmed up, and it's like okay, but instead he waits till like two guys get on, and then warms them up, and then so it's already like it's too late to limit the damage.
What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, and so I thought Sanchez definitely. I would not have let him go back out there for what was that, the 6th inning, because I just thought that one of those nights where he didn't have it. The one thing that I can't tell is how much of this is him trying to see how they battle through things. And I know it's frustrating in the moment, of course, when a guy blows up and they blow a lead, and you're like, well, this could be division, this could be playoff seeding, and I understand that. But I do wonder if part of it also is Thompson trying to see how these guys battle through things, so that I guess in an optimistic sense, in a bigger game, in a postseason game, he knows, okay, this is time. But at the same time, it does feel like that's something that has plagued him the last couple of years, is knowing when to get guys out, knowing when to get guys in. And unfortunately, like everything a baseball manager does is a coin flip. So if he pulls a guy early and the bullpen guy comes in and gets blown up, then they're like, how could you pull him early? So it's like it's almost a double-edged sword. But there have been times, the Luzardo start down in Washington, where he was cooking and Thompson let him go back out there when he didn't need to go back out there. I thought that they were going to really try to get these guys, especially the Wheeler injury, to the 85 to 90 pitch mark and get them out of there to have them as fresh as possible heading into the postseason, especially with the ramped up bullpen. They haven't necessarily done that, but it's something that is frustrating when it happens. I do just wonder if this is something that he is trying to see how his starters battle through things, so that in a bigger game he has a better idea of when to get them out.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like, I feel like we're at the point in the year now, it's like August turns into September, where like you can really kind of scoreboard watch and really follow all the other scores around the league. And like every game matters. Like, we're right in it against the Padres and Dodgers for who can get the bye. The division's a little closer than you'd want it to be, especially with the tiebreaker, the Mets having clinched that. And that's a good point that like, you don't really want the manager to have to, always bear the brunt of it, because it's always a coin flip, right? Like the opposite side is, getting mad at Gabe Kapler because Aaron Nola got pulled after 68 pitches in opening day. But
never forget
that. That's a good point.
Never 62 pitches. Me and Julio were doing post game or whatever. I mean, before we even signed on full board of callers, ready to just roast Gabe. And I don't know if it was the first caller, it felt like the first caller, but he goes, I want my manager to have a beer gut and tobacco. And I was like, well, you got the wrong guy. You got the wrong guy.
I kind of like Gabe. He was fun. He was different, but I don't know. The team is much better without him, so take it for what you will. But I think the big discussion point that people are really having is Nick Castellanos right now, and the comments that he made after the game last night, his typical interview yes-no self, but he did not seem happy about getting subbed out as a defensive replacement yet again. I give props to Thompson for giving it a shot again after what happened in Miami, but what did you think about those comments, Jack?
Well, I got to be honest, I wasn't surprised. I don't think this is going to be something that's going to just go away quietly. I like that he's fine. I like that Thompson's finally, standing up to Castellanos in a way. And we talked about these games getting more and more important. I mean, if you've seen what's going on in games, because he's awesome at shortstop. And he's been great. Last night was good to see him kind of return to normalcy and get some swing and miss. But those 3 games prior to that, it was a lot of contact. It wasn't all hard contact, but you need a good defensive lineup out there with Duran, because there is going to be contact. And given how hard he throws, there are times where it's going to be down the line, it's going to be hard hit. So going to a full defensive lineup is such a no-brainer, especially when he just hit. So first off, I'm glad Thompson is doing it, and maybe down the stretch run here and in the postseason, you'll see more of it. Definitely disappointing from Castellanos, like really being so upset about it when every single metric and eye test, if we want to use eye test, also backs up that he's a horrible defensive outfielder. But I guess at the same time, I would be equally as like, that's weird if he was just like, listen, everyone knows I'm not good out there, so I'm fine getting pulled. I don't know. So, Burrell had no problem with it in 08 when they put Bruntlett out there. Would like to see more of a, hey, Thompson's doing what it takes to win, rather than, yes, I'm frustrated, I'm not playing the outfield because I threw one guy out at the plate. Let's grow up a little bit.
What about you, Jeremy?
Threw one guy out at the plate that tagged up horribly and is notoriously slow.
Yep.
Matt Olson.
Yes.
The other thing with Castellanos,
exactly.
Like, I don't understand sometimes how Castellanos can have so many supporters and defenders. Like, I like the guy personally, right? I like that he has like some fire to him. There's aspects of Castellanos that I really like, but like this contract has been a failure. Like, it's essentially like you're lighting $100 million on fire. It's just always felt like a weird fit. We kind of only got him because how the lockout changed things, and the contracts that he thought he was going to get out there with other teams weren't there. But I don't know. It's just been a weird fit this entire time, and it just makes the outfield so weird now because you have way too many guys for the 3 outfield spots.
Well, yeah, and they can't call up Crawford. I mean, Crawford's kind of stuck right now. Kepler's playing a little bit better. They paid him obviously in the offseason. Castellanos is still here. Bader, I know he didn't play last night, but it really feels like he's kind of taking the center field job and running with it. Marsh has been really good for a majority of the last 2 weeks. He's cooled off. Had a hit or 2 last night, so that was good. And he's another lefty, but I think this is all trending towards Castellanos this offseason being moved out and then probably just eating the money so that Crawford can come up. But yeah, it's been an albatross. I think it's hurt their ability to go be real players in free agency and in the trade markets, because they have $20 million that's just not that valuable of a player in right field. Like, I give him credit, he was good in the Mets series last year. He obviously had the 2-game run between the Braves and Diamondbacks series, but other than that, he's been a pretty big disappointment.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at like the guys that could be off the team next year, could be here, like, who do you think is most likely to be on the team next year between Castellanos, Bohm, who I question sometimes if he's worth picking up on that 3rd year of arbitration, Ranger, a free agent, Alvarado with the option, like who those I think are like the 4 guys that I have like a lot of questions about, that they could be here next year, but they also could not be. Like, where do you rank them in terms of most likely to least likely?
Yeah, so I think Castellanos is gone. I think that he's also probably ready to get out of here because of what is happening now with being pulled from games and not just being put in the lineup every single day. So I think Castellanos is probably most likely. I guess Ranger second. I don't see a world in which they pay him. I love Ranger. We all love Ranger, but with Painter coming now again, maybe the Wheeler injury forces their hand, and they say, well, if he's gonna miss time next year, we're still in a World Series window. Do we just bite the bullet here and bring back Ranger? I mean maybe. And then boom, I just feel it's going to be a Philly, and Philly's not. I'm just going to every single year I'm just going to pencil in the most frustrating 280 to 285 third baseman in 6'5" third baseman in baseball. So until he's not manning the hot corner, I just assume that Alec Bohm will be here. But they do have a decision to make on that non-tender situation.
What about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, Castellanos, please be gone. I don't want him back at all. Yeah, I thought Ranger was gone. Yeah, but I obviously didn't even think about the whole Wheeler might. Yeah, if he's not ready could be maybe the season starts even later. He might even not pitch again. So that could change things. Also interesting if I'm assuming they're going to qualifying offer Ranger, and so I don't know if that will limit his market considering his tendency to slow down in the second half. Yeah, Bohm, I don't think there's anywhere replacement enough that we're going to find who's going to be cheaper as decent. So I think he's going to be here. But I just have to look at the funny quote that Bohm said. He said, like, when on the sack fly, he's like, I knew he'd come back into that spot looking to get me to chase or get me to ground to double play. So just trying to get to something up over the plate that could take off the ground, try to get the run. So does that mean he's constantly trying to hit things into the ground all the time? Like, now he's trying to lift it in the air? I just don't understand this guy.
Nice.
That's the Bloomberg's way, right, Jack?
Listen, Bloomsburg, we were the power ground balls, but that was because we were not playing on MLB quality infields. We were playing on bouncy, rocky infields in the mountains of Pennsylvania. So I think at Bloomsburg, he's probably a 500 hitter, but in the big leagues, it doesn't always work out that well. But yeah, I know people will say, well, what about Aiden Miller? What about Aiden Miller? Like, everyone who is listening to this probably understands that, like, I'm an Aiden Miller fanboy at this point. But it's a tall task, I think, to expect him to be ready to be an opening day third baseman next year. So, I think one more year, and then it was always the 2027 Phillies that people started freaking out about. But I think one more year with Bohm, unless it doesn't feel like it felt last year after the Mets benching, where it was like they got to get rid of him. Because again, if he's just batting like sixth, I think it's fine. It's just like when he starts creeping up and up the cleanup territory, that's where you get annoyed with Bohm. But one more year, then Aiden comes up, unless they can find some kind of alternative here. But I think I actually think priority number 1 and 2 is getting off of Taiwan and Castellanos, just so that they have enough money now to re-sign Schwarber, re-sign JT, and also fill out other spots on the roster. But hopefully they don't have to sign like a Kepler type because Crawford's ready. But then at the same time, they're still another outfielder short if Castellanos is not back. So I do think that they're going to try to get off some of the guys so that they can re-sign some of their.
I sometimes wonder if Bohm is a way that they can save some money, though, right? Because going into his last year for arbitration, if he goes up salary like you usually do in your last year, maybe he's getting $12 million or so. And Edmundo Sosa is also going into his last year for arbitration, probably going to get like $5 million. And is Alec Bohm worth $9 million more than Edmundo Sosa? I don't know. And if that's the difference between bringing Schwarber back and not bringing Schwarber back, I don't know. That's just where it gets a little bit questionable to me.
I mean, Bohm is making 7.7 this year. I don't think it's going to jump past 10.
Third-year arbitration can go up there.
Yeah, but he's regressed, and he's regressed many ways. Like, he jumped that much. He jumped $3 million just because he had such a strong 75% of the season. But he's just a replacement level player every other year. So I don't think they will lose an arbitration case against him. So I don't see them paying more than 9.5 for him, unless they're. Yeah,
it depends on the money, of course. Jack, does any part of you worry at all about obviously I think everybody wants to see Schwarber back. Most people want to see JT back. Do you worry at all that those extensions, if they don't age well, will end in a post 2011 Phillies era, paying those guys a lot of money, Aaron Nola a lot of money, Harper, Turner, deep into their 30s? I don't know. At the back of my head, I just can't fully get over that concern.
Yeah, no, and I think it's totally fair. And it's one of those things where, I hear you, and I definitely agree with you. But also at the same time, they kind of need him, like they just do. And it's such an easy thing to say, heading into the offseason, like, well, it's really only the first 2 years of the contract that matter, and the last one's whatever, until you have to sit through the last one, and it's excruciating. So believe me, there is, and I totally agree with you, Joe. Like there is that fear of what it was like, and I've said this a lot on the podcast, and I feel like I've said it everywhere, but I really do think that is how they view the last couple of deadlines, where we keep wanting them to do the all-in move. And I think Taillon and Abel is pretty damn close to it. You got a difference-making closer. But, the push all the chips in, not to use the burn the boats term, but burn the boats and give up all the prospects to try to win a championship now, kind of like Dombrowski did with Boston. I think Middleton has been like, no, we got to keep the prospects so that we don't go through what we went through from 2012 to 2018. And then we do have some real difference-making type prospects, and hopefully they can be that. Hopefully Crawford can be great, and Aiden can be great, and Painter can right the ship here a little bit. So I think they're trying to do the best they can at balancing, knowing that this is their World Series window, but also having some young kids coming through the pipeline that are ready to help and ready to make a difference, so that it does supplement some of the big contracts, keeps some of the prices down if they're concerned about that stuff, and you don't have the super big drop off that you had from 12 to 18, which the thing that I feel like people don't bring up, like, they was horrible at drafting at that point. They were so far behind where the sport was trending, to where now I do feel pretty good about their ability to replenish the farm system if they did move on from some pieces. But I think the Phillies are very, very cognizant of wanting to keep the young players around, supplement the major league roster, knowing they're getting older, but also not just have a bunch of old players out there that are riding out the last days of their contracts.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're not drafting Cornelius Randolph anymore, so we're drafting guys.
Dude, they got so screwed, man. I mean, if they were in each of the last 4 drafts during that time, we'd be in such a different spot. I mean, Moniak, Hazley, Bohm, even Randolph was top 10. Some of the recent drafts, just the players at the top, and even I know it's less than 10 years ago, but I think just scouting and data stuff has gotten so much better, to where there's a way higher hit rate now than I feel like there used to be. It's very Philadelphia that the years they have top 10 picks, the classes aren't great, but also incredibly annoying.
No. Oh yeah, 2016, the only star player is Will Smith at 32. I mean, I wanted Senzel over Moniak, and he is way worse. It's just, of course, we had the worst number all pick possible.
Hey, Mickey Moniak put it together in Colorado.
Yeah,
you don't want them to. You didn't want them to take Pete Alonso number 1 overall when he's a second round pick. I mean, that draft, such a bummer, man. And I love Nick. Obviously, everyone knows I love Nick. And I'm really happy for him. I mean, people were sending me his stash lines, should have kept. And when you reach should have kept status, you kind of need something.
He's fallen off. I mean, his base percentage is back under 300.
We're not OBP guys. We're exit hits guys. We're exit hits. I'm just kidding. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
No, but it's just also funny, this comparing time. And I remember when Burrell nowadays would have been way more praised with how he slugged and got on base constantly. But I just remember my dad was doing 04 to the end of his contract. It's oh, this is albatross. His final year was 13 million. So he was making 10 million under that. It's just crazy how much the sport has changed since then.
Dude, the Burrell thing is so funny because I was a long time Burrell hater. I mean,
oh yeah, same. Yeah, everyone was.
Well, that's what I find so funny is everyone's on the same page. Burrell drives us nuts. Burrell drives us nuts. The jumping out of fastballs in the inside corner was insane. The defense, this. And I'll never forget. It was my first time really understanding the Philadelphia fan base. But I was probably it was probably 05, 06, and my parents took me. I went to like one Phillies game a year, and we were sitting in like the I don't know 300 level or whatever. This guy lets out how about you stop paying Burrell 25 million a year and get some bleeping pitching? And then he has the big hit in the World Series, his one hit in the World Series, and now Pat Burrell is the Philadelphia legend. So it's a really good testament to what postseason circumstances and how it changes how you are viewed in the city.
Oh yeah, but it's 05 to 08. He had OPS plus of over 120 each year. It's just yeah. I'm sorry, Pat.
I know. He was basically Hoskins. I mean, basically
good point.
Was Reese
I've said that. Yeah, I've said this on this podcast. Hoskins was the next Pat Burrell. He couldn't play left. He walked a shit ton, and he hit power. Exact same player.
Yeah.
Jack, how has like your Phillies fandom like progressed throughout the years as you were a kid and then you played baseball throughout college and now you work for WIP and you cover the team so much? Like, how has your role as a fan kind of changed and evolved as all of that's kind of gone on?
So I wouldn't say it's really changed too much. I think the one thing that has changed is, growing up, I was playing travel ball. I was, I actually like, not to surprise, I camped a lot in the summer. So like I would be camping, hiking, all that stuff. So I was just out, like I wasn't home as much. And this is like the heyday. Like I remember I was on the banks of the Delaware River camping the night that Halladay threw his perfect game down in Florida. So, me thinking about that now, it makes me tense up. I get nervous about missing things. So I think the biggest thing that's changed is like I care a lot about not missing anything. I care a lot about I want to try to deliver the smartest takes that I can. Like I don't want to be a half-assed guy when it comes to the Phillies. So I really try to watch every second that I can, and if I miss it, I go back and watch it. But I think the biggest thing that's changed is that, like, for example, last night I'm walking on the boardwalk with my family, and I'm streaming the game on my phone. I don't know what to tell you. I don't want to miss anything. So I think the passion is still there. I think with some of the other sports, you get used to well, this would make my job easier if they lost, or like this would make my job easier if there's some kind of drama in a way. But with the Phillies, none of that has changed. It's a true, I think we've said on the podcast, there's diehard fans and then there's diseased fans. And I like to think that the Reddit community here is diseased fans, where I legitimately view the Phillies as another family member, to where they're just the Phils. They're the Phils. So it hasn't totally changed. I think as I've gotten a little bit older, some of the gee willikers, look at this prospect and how amazing they are. They're going to be the future. The pie in the skyness, I think, is kind of waned on me in a little bit. But I think overall, the love of the team, wanting them to win, having my frustrations with players, but still hoping that they have moments and stuff like that. If you ask my wife, she'd probably have a different answer. But for me, it's kind of my lifestyle in a way, and I really care a lot about it, and I hope that comes across with podcast, radio, and on Twitter.
Definitely does. For everything, that's definitely true. One question that I had that's interesting is if you were in charge of the Phillies, what would you change? What would you want to be run differently about the Phillies if you were in charge? You could do everything you wanted.
Well, I think the thing that change is a little tough, because I think they are, generally doing things pretty well. But I would definitely, I would just sink as much of my resources into draft and development, and I think they're starting to do it better internationally, but I want them to spend real money in the international market. I feel like it's so much of like they're not paying for the top 5 guys in an international class. It's more like the 10 to 15 range is their one guy, and then they have a bunch of other players after that. And it seems like that's changing with the Francisco Renteria kid.
Yeah.
They're rumored to sign. He's going to be like the number 2 prospect in the international class, which is such a big change from how things used to be. So I guess I wish I had a better answer, but from the standpoint of like internationally, invest in spend real money in that market. I know that's capped in a way, but like use it towards one great player and go from there. And then I mean it's very simple. Stop signing cooked players. In a way, because like every year they sign some cooked guy that everyone knows is cooked, but they're like, I don't know, like enough of the cooked guys. Let's take some chances on some lottery tickets and see how it goes. They're slowly starting to do some, like they took a shot on Jeff Hoffman that really worked out. I love the idea of trying to take pedigree guys and fixing them here. I mean, I have no idea what Kevin Long is teaching the hitters, but I feel like it's a pretty, outdated approach. So I would like a revamp. I would actually like it as I talk my way through this, Joe, and I'm sorry for talking my way through it.
You're okay.
Yeah, go for it.
I would certainly like a revamp from the hitting process, whether that's big leagues to the minor league development. Like I think the minor league development, I would like a step forward. Hitting wise, it feels like a lot of the hitters have kind of plateaued this year. Big league wise, we've been frustrated with the offense for 4 years. It feels like when like in important games with actually talented players. So I guess hitting is one that I want to make sure that they are getting it right, because it's so massive for today when like we see all these sick prospects come up, and I like Crawford. I obviously love Aiden Miller. I think Aiden's August is going in a good way, but it feels like and they might have traded their highest upside hitting prospect in Tayit, but wanting to get the hitting close to where the pitching is, because I think the pitching in the minor league side is in a pretty good spot. I don't think they've been given the most talent. I think the last couple of drafts have been so focused on the hitting side to where the pitching's been left behind. But now with this last class, I mean, holy cow,
That was hilarious.
They got like it was the best. I was driving up the Central PA to the PA Grand Canyon. I'm like, another pitcher, but I think pitching wise they're in a pretty healthy spot, but just making sure the hitting's in a good spot, I think is important as well.
Yeah, I agree. Like Kevin Long was like, I agree, was great when like the 2019, like when the 3 true outcome was still the big craze, but it's clear the league has adapted from that. It's not as big prevalent. And what frustrates me the most is, I mean, you talked about it on High Hopes with Celts about they intentionally didn't work on stop swing while he was hitting 200 for 3 months. Like I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, I'd like the hey, this is bad, right? There's a lot of talk of, hey, you should probably go to Allentown for a little bit, and they're like, all right, I guess it's time, And the one thing that was disappointing about that was, all off season it was, we're gonna get right on top of conversations this year.
Exactly.
We're not gonna let things linger, and that felt like a lingering thing where, hold on, he's been horrible for 2 months. What are we taking so long to say let's try something different? So yeah, I think there's a little bit too much of look at the back of the baseball card. These guys are pros, like for me, and but at the same time, like I think he's been integral in Schwarber, and I don't think that this is the offseason you move on from him when you're trying to re-sign Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think one thing that I always think of with the hitting development, and I don't want to go back to Bohm, but like, and this was before Dombrowski and everything, anyways. But like, I don't know how you have a 6'5" corner infielder and you let him come up to the
Yeah.
major leagues as a slap hitter. Like, in no world should he be developed as a slap hitter. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, but I can't tell if that is also stubbornness from the player.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Where the player is like, I'm a hitter, and I don't need to be one of these launch angle guys. I don't need to do that kind of stuff. Who needs 20 home? I think I agree with you, but I do think there could also be stubbornness from the player on that.
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
think Bohm's definitely the stubbornness. Like his whole like complaint, like, oh, I'm gonna keep swinging at the first couple pitches, but and it's infuriating when he swings at the ones that are like in on him. But and like I'm okay with him being a slap hitter, but why is a pitch in the middle of the zone pounded into the ground?
I know. He can't wait to rip one to the ground. He really can't.
The one other thing that I would change if I was in charge of the Phillies would just be to stop messing with Citizens Bank Park. Like, it was so great, and like every
yeah.
change they've made over the last few years has just made it worse, in my opinion. The out-of-town scoreboard,
Oh, really?
the clock is gone now. The new scoreboard is just like more ad space, and like, the stats they have up there, like I can't find like a batting average sometimes. Like, I don't know. Every change they've made has made
Yeah.
it worse in the stadium.
I mean,
I think
the ass plund. Like, come on, who approved
the
that?
flowers. That's so true.
Yeah, it looks like ass plunger. That's all I see when I see that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I like not being able to find the pitch of the speed. Totally. Like I can't. It's impossible. You need binoculars to find out how fast the pitch is thrown. I also do love when they throw up the horizontal and vertical movement. I think it's so funny because you're sitting in the stands. You have no idea what any of that means. It's the best. But at the same time, I mean, the bank's still the bank. It's still. I will be. I'm 31. I hope that stadium is the stadium that I go to my grave, and it's the only Philly stadium I know. Like I think it's still perfect. I think it's really a perfect baseball park.
Yeah,
It's-
and to speak of it, I've lived in California most of my life. I've recently moved to Mexico for the first time. But 18 Oracle, whatever, that it's just gotten just as bad with not being able to find the pitch speed anywhere. And so honestly, I had to have, whenever I go, I had to have game day open on my phone just to follow the game properly. I have no idea what the throwing.
Wow.
What's your favorite stadiums in the league, Jack, other than Citizens Bank Park? What's like your, top 5?
So I've only been to Wrigley, Camden, Fenway, Nats Park. I went to Turner Field back in the day. I actually had not been to Yankee Stadium.
Chase Field, right? You were in Arizona during the playoffs, right?
Oh, how could I forget?
Thanks for the reminder.
Chase Field.
I was there too.
That place was like, I don't know. I felt I just don't like watching sports in domes. It felt like I was almost in a mall in a way, but like a 90s mall. It really needs upgrades. So yes, I was in Chase Field. I was at Minute Maid. I don't know what it's called now. I don't care. It's always going to be Minute Maid Park for me. But that was a cool stadium. I guess the ones that I think Oracle. I want to go see a game there really bad. I do want to see a game in Colorado. Wrigley, I will always go back to. We're already planning our playoff scheduling, and it's nice. We do travel a lot of places. Oh, I was at Citi Field last year for those games. It was horrible. I hated every second of it. But I guess of the places I want to go, I want to go to Petco. I want to go to Oracle. I would love to go to Wrigley again. I want to go to Coors Field. I guess I got to go to Yankee Stadium, but it just feels like a morgue to me. Like maybe the old stadium, I think, would have had more appeal, I guess. So I mean, it's a pretty chalk answer, but I do want to see some of the classic parks around the country. And when the boys get older, I want to eventually do like a trip to see a ballpark and see the Phillies once a year. But I don't think I need to spur that on them at 2.5 and 8 months old. So we'll probably wait until they're like 7 and 5.
It's a good idea. I'm sure that'd be something that they'd, remember forever. My number one, I've been to 20, and Atlanta was the old one Turner Field. My favorite is San Diego. Like, San Diego is just amazing, and St. Louis is super underrated. That's actually my number two, Busch. But
yeah, baseball heaven. Baseball heaven.
it really is great. Yeah, it really is great. Even though I don't know if it deserves that nickname. I can't believe we got 40 minutes into this, and I wanted to give you a second here to talk about your book. I have it. I pre-ordered it. I read a little bit of it, and I'm going to get to the rest of it once I've done some other books that I'm reading. Everything's been great that I've read so far. So how did this book kind of come into form, and what do you want to say about it?
Yeah, so Kevin has written a couple of books, Kevin Reevy, and he says that he was going through a midlife crisis at like 39 years old, and he was like, "Am I ever going to write another book?" And he always wanted to write a book about the Phillies. Didn't want to do it alone because writing a book by yourself, as I've definitely learned, is a daunting task. But he reached out to me because we had got to know each other a little bit. We actually were up at Halliday's Hall of Fame weekend, so we were hanging up there, got to know each other a little bit, and yeah, he just reached out to me. We met in Westchester and asked if I wanted to do it, and me, not totally like I have a tough time saying no to things, and I was just like, wow, I got Walker at home. I think we talked about it before Sutton was before Jill was pregnant again. But either way, like, we're gonna eventually have two kids. And it was like, yeah, we'll have like 2 years to write it. I was like, oh, perfect. Little did I remember back from my school days, I love procrastinating. I'm not getting stuff. I'm not getting stuff done early. So the Harry chapter I wrote like over 3 months because I was busy. I still was doing the job and doing post game, and I didn't realize Walker was around. So I didn't. It just I slow played the Harry chapter because I knew I had time. And then right about this time last year, it was starting to get panic mode because our original deadline was like November or whatever, but thankfully they pushed it back to January. So yeah, we kind of came up with the idea for the book, what we wanted it to be. I don't know if you guys ever read like the Book of Basketball, but by Bill Simmons. Like I thought it was a really fun, enjoyable, like a read that'll put your smile on your face and like an easygoing read. Obviously, I love the Phillies. Kevin loves the Phillies, and I also wanted to have a book out there that it's kind of like my life's work in a way, I guess. Just like putting all the thoughts I have in my head about the Phillies on paper sounds fun. But yeah, it was a process. Last 3 months leading into when it was due was super super busy. I was up like every day at 5 a.m. because I wanted to make sure I got up before Walker got up. Because so he usually gets up like 6:37, so I get like 2 hours in the morning every single day to write it. I was just reading headlines and articles from 07, 08, 09, 10. Like reliving all of that was so fun, and going back and remembering the little details of those seasons rather than just like, hey, they won the World Series and like there's no down times in the season. I like going back and reliving some of the trials and tribulations that team went through and trying to remind myself of that when this team goes through struggles. But yeah, it was a process. I remember I finished it on January 1st, and Sutton was born January 2nd. So right under the deadline, we got it done. But yeah, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun. There was definitely times during it where I was like, why the hell did I say yes to this? This is awful. But now that it's over and seeing the reaction to it and seeing it in the print, I'm very, very glad that we did it, and very glad that Kevin asked me to be a part of it.
And where can people go buy the book if they're interested in making a purchase?
Well, ringthebellbook.com is how you can buy it directly from us. Don't look at the price on Amazon being a little bit less, and knowing that you're getting free shipping. But I don't. If you go to Amazon, I don't care. It's at this point, I just want people to enjoy the book and get the book and hopefully like my goal in writing it was for the diehard disease type fans, you can maybe learn something or have a fun trip down memory lane. And then for the people who are maybe just getting into the Phillies a little younger, don't remember 08 through 11, which is crazy. I can't
Oh
believe that
God.
a whole generation has no idea what the run was like. I think it's a pretty good, not like 250 pages like summary of the season. It's about like 50, I think it's 54 pages on the 08 team is what I remember writing. So it's definitely an in-depth look at the 08 team, but hopefully not too long to where people tune it out. So the feedback early has been really nice. It's a lot of like, well, the first reaction is like, hey, you're not that stupid. You know what I mean? Like you're not that dumb. I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. Like I kind of write how I talk in a way, and the reaction's been very very positive so far, and people seem to really enjoy it. So bringthebellbook.com is how you can go buy it.
Awesome. That is all that I had for today. Is there anything that you had, Jeremy? Anything you had, Jack, before we finished up?
Yes, I have one question. I asked my dad is a big fan of yours. I got him your book for his birthday. He loves it, and so I asked him if he had any
Phenomenal.
questions.
Awesome.
It's a pretty simple one. And
Okay.
hold on. Oh yeah, he. Do you believe if Thompson has finally figured out to only bring Kirkering in the clean inning?
Well, I mean, it's certainly an issue. What is it? 14 out of 30 inherited runners have scored on him. In watching Kirkering, the one thing that is going to continue to bite him until he develops some kind of plan or another pitch is every single time he faces a lefty, I get scared because he throws that sweeper down, they just drop the bat head on it, and it feels like it's always hard contact. Like I want to see him use that two-seamer more and start it at guys' shoulders and let it come back. I think that's going to be an impossible pitch. But I think this offseason he developed the two-seamer, the sinker, and that was great. That was awesome. I think it's got him in a good spot. Maybe this offseason he learns a cutter or something that can get in on the left-handed hitters to get them off the barrel, because it feels like they are just barreling him up, at an annoying rate. So, yeah, the last couple outings have been really disappointing from the standpoint of, listen, he's going to take down big outs in the postseason. There's no doubt about it. And I'm starting to have those Orion Kirkering postseason fears again, which I certainly did not expect and did not want to have to deal with this year.
Yeah, and to be fair, some of those runs are because Weston Wilson is a terrible left fielder.
Yeah. And they're not all hard contact, but still, it's like it's almost like he has to let two of the runs come in and then he'll shut down.
Exactly.
Which in a postseason series doesn't always work.
Awesome. Anything that you had, Jack, before we finished up for the day?
Not really. Just excited to watch them tonight. At least take 3 or 4 in this series. Sales on the mound. We'll see how long he can go into it. Big bounce back start for Sanchez. He is the pressure of being the number one, and against the Braves divisional game at home. Not a bad little marquee start for Sanchez. So looking forward to that. And then if you did want to get copies of Ring the Bell, I am signing them tomorrow, or you can buy them and I'll sign it tomorrow at New Era Team Store from 5:30 to 7. But I'll probably hang it after. But starting at 5:30.
Awesome. Thank you much, Jack, and thank you, Jeremy, for joining today. This will end today's episode, and hope you have a good one, everybody. We'll be back after the game tomorrow. See you later.